Well, hello everybody. Sorry, I realized at the last moment I hadn't plugged my headphones in. So, let's switch. It's going to be a little bit different view today. I apologize. I apologize now. I may cough. I will try to mute it every time. Let's put this over here. Alright, so as you can see, I got a little bit of a different angle over here because we're going to build something. I'm going to build it right here in this space. What I'm going to build is... Hey Clumsy. Thanks for joining. So what I'm going to build is this. It's going to be a stand that I can attach my cross stitch to, and it's just the right height for me to set it right here on this chair down here. So I'll basically be able to work on it like this, and I'll adjust the camera to be able to see it. Also, thanks for that host, Pixel Sharks. So let me screw with the camera for a second because it looks like it's having issues with staying focused. I don't know what that's like. What was I talking about? Okay, so just stay there. And let's zoom a little. Yeah, that'll work. Alright. Perfect. Hey, Clumsy Wolf. Thanks for that host. I appreciate it. So, for those who aren't familiar with, this is what I've been working on. It's a cross stitch that I've been working on for years to give to a family of a fallen soldier. Just a week and a half ago, one of my good friends passed away while on duty. So this is going to go to him. But for the moment today, we're going to make my job a little easier. By the way, did you see that Dragon got your book yesterday? He was thinking about doing a Read with Voices session on Discord Voice Friday and thought it might help other people hear about your book too. Yes, I did see that, and I'm all for that. Depending on when he chooses to do it, I can make sure I join in. Hey, Damien. Okay, so the pieces are all right over here. Let me grab it real quick. I had them all organized and on the chair, but then Zoe wanted to play Stardew Valley last night, and so I had to move it all. Turn you down. Yep, I'll be around on Friday. It's just a matter of just needing to see what time he does it. So, okay. So we have several pieces here to work with. I'm going to start with where the instructions say to start, with the feet. So I may actually, here are the directions. I'm going to set them right here for now. Set a bunch of this stuff up here on the desk. I'm actually going to have to take my cross stitch off of the one that it's on to put it on this one. And I also discovered something interesting yesterday when I was looking at these. Got them at Michael's, 50% off one item, so that was big. That I have been rolling it like this. I'll give you guys a close-up look at it. Use that right there. So I had been rolling them so that the pattern was right here, and so it would roll over to that. But apparently, I've been doing it wrong. That what's recommended is that you do it the other way, so that the pattern side that you're viewing is on here, and then the back, which this is on this side. So when I detach this and put it on the new one, that's what I'm going to do. When I got that, it didn't come with any instructions on how you're supposed to put it in there. I just had to figure it out. Okay. So there are... And I have the picture here, just in case I need it. Yep, I have the picture there just in case I need it. So I got the feet. All these little pieces can go up here for now. Set them over there. Oh, Gru, you'll be happy to hear this. Yesterday when Zoe was in here watching Fluffy, or as she says, Floofy, she asked if you were online. She was most interested in seeing if you were online so she could come play with your minions. This seems odd to me that there's only one of these. Oh, it's because the other one fell down. Yeah. Okay. This is the thing that will hold the rollers that have the cross stitch in it. Alright, so this one is a long foot. Yes. Okay. So I actually started to build this last night, and then I thought, you know what? This is like a fun thing to do on stream, so I'm gonna do it on stream. Got as far as opening the bag, and decided to wait. Nice. 1.5-inch bolts and wing nuts. Okay, I'm gonna dump these out, which means I'm gonna mute the mic for just a second. MS, I've actually built a table before. Our dining room table, which I'll take some pictures of it sometime. Actually, you know what? I have an entire project album on Facebook. I can share a link to. Was it 2011? I think it was. I went to switch my schedule from mids to days, and so I kept myself up working on a table. Basically, I did all the. I cut all of the pieces. We got unfinished wood, cut all the pieces, sanded them down, stained them, and then put them together. We still have that table. Love that table. It's a big, like, ranch-style table, so it's very long. It's got benches for seats. Wing nut here, and a wing nut here. Well, your Twitter account seems to, be betraying you right now. Like every time I go into your channel, I'm getting hints at who your real identity is. Don't worry, I won't be clanging any loud things like Bonsai does when she's building. That channel, how they have the adult warning tag? That channel should come with a sound warning tag. Like you have to click it. This place is loud. Alright. Good and tight. Let's do the other side. So how was everybody's weekend? Fluffy, I know you were playing Bioshock and apparently loving it. Zoe was a little upset you were playing a game she couldn't watch because I basically had to scoot you off the side of the screen, but so she could still see the chat. But she wasn't going to miss Fluffy. At least for as long as her attention span lasted. Which, with a 10-year-old with ADHD, that's not very long. Gru, with his minions, she has a little bit more attention span for her. Alright. Base is done. I feel like I could get it a little tighter. Let me oh, actually I have a pair right here. Get these nice and tight. What was everybody else doing besides Fluffy and his stream? Oh, which, by the way, I need to do something. I've got so many awesome people in here. So for those who catch this, everyone here knows this already, but for those who catch this later, you should go follow InstaFluff. And that MS Gamer. So there you go, in the chat. On that side over there when you're watching this in VOD. you'll have some links that you can look at. I watch these two regularly. Fluffy's like the pleasant part of my day, and MS Gamer's is the amusing part of my day. Especially when you're playing that flat game. Zoe is still really enjoying your Wind Waker playthrough. Even though she did just see it with Fluffy. The kid loves that game. Now you just get the GameCube or the Wii set up, she can continue her playthrough of it. I have a lot of things I need to get done. Okay, so base is done and tight. I'm much happier with that level of tightness. So insert through the crossbar and screw into the ends of the bottom uprights. So these, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Wind Waker a lot more than I thought it was going to. I hated the graphics. I've never gotten over the graphics. I don't like cell shading, but it's a very fun game. It's very big. It's a lot bigger than you'd think. And after a while, the sailing doesn't even bother you anymore. In the beginning, it feels like you're sailing everywhere for forever. So, I still think I prefer Ocarina of Time over that one. I never finished Skyward Sword. I need to do that. And I'm about to start Breath of the Wild. Alright, so for the next one, I have to attach a wing nut to these upright pieces right here. Like this. I have to attach... Yeah, there we go, that works. I have to attach that to the this wing nut through the base right here. And I'm pretty sure, yes, it's supposed to be like this. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't even make it all the way through. Insert 2-inch long screws. Okay, so I've got these. Oh, I think they want me to put these in. Through the bottom. Yeah, I think they want me to use these and screw the piece of wood on. Hi, Dragon. Saw your post this morning. I am definitely interested in participating in just about anything that has to do with my book. That's odd. I'm looking at the picture, which just fell down. Yay. And the picture says that I'm supposed to use this. And this is supposed to be down. But it doesn't reach. I mean, call me skeptical, but the last time I checked, in order to tighten something down, you need to have this piece come through. And it's not coming through. But the picture definitely shows this piece and its sister right here on the sides. Actually, no, they're in the middle. What the heck? So where are they supposed to go with those? Okay. So it's not this one. It's one with a hole. Ah, there it is. So it's got a hole in the bottom of it. And there's the other one. So this is why you always double check. You don't make a mistake. So these will go back up here for now. Sorry, again, throw frogs. Got a cough actually, give me just a moment. That should point up closer to me so you guys can see my face when I'm not buried down in this. Alright, so I've got the 2-inch long screws. These will go through the bottom, like so. And I will start screwing them onto this. Hey Dragon, how are you doing today? You caught some of that Stellaris game I played last night. I'm not sure you were there for the end when I started having border issues with the other Civ near me. It was interesting. I'm not quite sure how it's eventually going to work out, but we'll see. There we go. So let's tighten this on. Glad I got my electrical screwdriver. It's got the big handle. I considered using a drill, but and then I thought of how loud it is. Nope, I'm not doing that to them. Not going to do that to them. So did you get any more reading done last night, Dragon? I'm currently working through some X-Men comics for my reading. How about you, Fluffy? I know you were reading my book also. What was everybody else reading? Let's do it this way. Okay, there we go. There we go. Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to hit that. Yeah, I've been enjoying going back and catching up with some of the old X-Men comics. Not old, like early, like mid to late 2000s. Mid to late aughts. That's what I'm. Well, it is a big book. That's so. Doesn't seem like it when you're reading it in Kindle, but for those of you who have seen it, it's like that thick. 530 pages plus of readable content. I think is what it is. Plus the appendix. And that might include an appendix. I know there's an appendix, and then there's a sample of fall. Which one of my friends told me if I hadn't included that, he was seriously considering hiring someone to come assassinate me. Like, well, that's not going to get you what you want. Okay, so the base is now done. So we got that part. No. Hello, Dwight. What I'm making is this. It is a stand to hold cross stitching, which is what I normally do on my creative cross stitch. Either that or I do the working on a t-shirt quilt. So today I got this yesterday. Pardon me. So I'm getting it. It's going to set up right here on this chair for me, and then I'll have it like right here so I can cross stitch at pretty much eye level. So that'll be nice, and it'll make it easier for me to arrange the camera so that you guys can see what it is I'm working on in this space over here. So, but it will mean no more of me having to pin it against my chest while I'm sitting there trying to cross stitch on it. And it's nice enough that it disconnects, so if I go someplace I can just take it off and take it with me. So, but yes, thank you for joining, and thank you for asking there, Dwight. I appreciate it. Okay, so next, position 2 spacers and 1 center upright between the secure uprights, which are these. These are the secure uprights, which were attached to the crossbar in step 2. Yep. Insert the 4-inch bolt through all and secure with a wing nut. Okay. So still curious about why these have that. Because it doesn't make any sense for it to have this little metal piece on the end, right there. Yeah, I don't understand why that's there, because it's not going to go into any hole on the bottom. But the picture clearly shows this one down there. I hope to. Yes, actually, as soon as I finish building this, I'm going to do a little cross stitching. Yes. I have other projects around the house that I have to work on, but those are more like building storage and doing some organizing and stuff. Not going to stream that. For one, I'm not really sure how I'd set up a camera and stuff to record the building the shelves, because they're outside. But yes, I will be cross stitching a little at the end. Okay, so they want the spacers and one center upright. Now these are all essentially the same. Right there. Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh. These were hiding. These are the ones that need to go down in here. There we go. Okay, so to show you what I've done, because they weren't in place yet, I'll pick this up and I'll get one of these. Okay, so I'm taking these two pieces right here, putting this on either side of it, like that. And I'm setting this entire piece down in between the legs. So like so. And then I shove this all the way through the other side. And they are in place now. But that wing nut is going to have a bit of a difficult time getting that thing. So we shall see how it goes. Wing nut number 1. Let's try this. I gripped it. So that's good. Are you into cross-stitching there, Dwight? Since you asked about it, I'm just curious. Oh, Fluffy, you forgot to ask me to tell you a story. You always ask for me to tell you a story. The painting on the wall, this? No, this is a print. I started painting one thing. My wife is more the painter than I am. My big thing is cross-stitching. I've cross-stitched a lot over the years. I started cross-stitching. Yes, I have a story for you, Fluffy. It's a video game related story. But I started cross-stitching, real quick to give Dwight a little background. As a 5th grader, I was in German school, and my mom got sick. And in German school, 1st graders get out sooner than 3rd and 4th graders. And I was actually in the 5th grade, so 5th year there. And my sister was in the 1st or 2nd year, and she would get out sooner and go home. And so because my mom was sick all the time, I had to go back to the American school, and my teacher was pregnant, and I didn't want to just give her something like everyone else was doing, dolls and blankets, things like that. I wanted to make her something, so my mom introduced me to cross-stitching. That's how I got started. I've cross-stitched pieces for my wife and for several other people. I'm actually going to be working on one for a viewer from another channel. So, but yeah, in case you hadn't caught that, Fluffy, yeah, that's how I got into doing this. So Fluffy, this video game story, yeah, Guthrie Origins, yeah. So you're about to get a few more. Okay, so I did not own a console Position the remaining 2 uprights between the 3 uprights now assembled. Insert the 4-inch bolt. 3-prong black plastic knob. I think this is the one they want because they distinctly. Yeah. Okay. So, growing up in Alaska, I did not have a console video game system. Now, this would have been in the 80s, so we're talking Ataris and things like that. I didn't have one of those. What I had instead was an old Radio Shack computer that plugged into the TV. And this is one of those ones that didn't have anything on it. Yeah, mine are based on patterns, Dwight. I can actually show you a picture of what the thing's going to look like. Just give me a second. So this computer it didn't have really much anything on it. The only thing that came onto it was what we put on it by way of a tape deck. All right, so there you go. That's what I'm cross stitching, and his name will go from the top left across to the right above the eagle's wing there, and then his date of birth, the year of birth, and the year he died will be on there. So that's that. Let me shrink that back down. Yep. So there's that. Yeah, I like it. I like it. When my mom first approached me with the idea to do something for a soldier's family, I didn't want to go simple. So I wanted to show that I put a lot of time and effort into it. All right, so this computer, tape deck games. That's how you played games on it. And my dad happened to have a coworker who was really good at programming games for that thing. So he would constantly bring over tapes with games on them for me to play, and I could not get enough of them. I had a near constant supply of new games. They were all very basic things. A lot of them were based on similar games that you'd find on an Atari, but they were made just for me. I mean, how cool is that? To basically have your own video game programmer. I try not to, Fluffy. I try to put it on, which is part of the reason why I end up having to leave the military. So I had my own game designer basically feeding me games constantly. So as a result, I didn't get a console for the longest time. So when the Nintendo came out, I didn't get it because I was used to having other things. When we moved to Germany, though, we lost access to that. I had the computer for years. Hi, Mr. Gray. Actually, you were the one that was there last night. Dragon there was for a little bit. You were there for that game all the way to the end, and I saw you join me when I hopped over to say hi to ND. All right, come on, you can go. Thanks for following me over there. She's a writer. She streams writing a lot, blog writing and stuff like that. And she's currently trying to lose weight. And so she reached her first goal, and I got her run a 5K. This doesn't seem like it's going to fit. I think that this is... Yes, this is supposed to go someplace else. So yeah, I agreed to run a lot of miles as a show of support for her as she goes through this new process for her this new time in her life. So I got some running to do. Yeah, I'm still working on figuring out the groove. I want to do some creative, like cooperative writing things where I'm writing, but the chat room is giving me ideas. And we just create a short story and stuff like that. I use that content to send it off to my Patreon supporters as they get early access to all of my writing. They will be getting a copy, a beta or an alpha copy of Fall this week. So, the first console that I got was the Sega Genesis. I skipped the 8-bit generation entirely. If I wanted to play it, I could go to a friend's house. It's the same thing with Atari. If I wanted to play it, I could go to a friend's house. And I insisted on buying the system myself and buying a TV myself. As an update for the project, we now have the 2 primary stands up. So what I'm going to do now is adjust the camera slightly so you can see this camera. I need to get a grip arm for it. There, we'll see if that stays. So the first system I got was a Sega Genesis. I saved up to buy it myself. It's a stand to hold the cross stitching I've been working on, Mr. Gray. Basically it will sit like this up here, and I'll be able to do the cross stitching like basically on eye level. I can lower it a little if I want to. So I bought a Sega Genesis. I got the one with Sonic. I didn't want Altered Beast. Oh yeah, I went to arcades. Well, my favorite ones were the ones at the table that you see at Pizza Hut, where you sit down on opposite sides of the table and you play like Pac-Man and stuff like that. I loved those games. Going to Pizza Hut was kind of up in Alaska. You don't have a lot of extra things, so you kind of have to enjoy what you have. And Pizza Hut was one of them, especially since we were 30 miles out from the nearest city, in the middle of nowhere. So I got the Sega Genesis. I managed to get the one with the Sonic the Hedgehog, and then I got a game called Flicky. And then eventually I saved up more and bought Castle of Illusion. Love that game. And then the 4th game. It was a complete impulse. I had that money, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to get this game. It was called Jewel Master. And this game had some of the worst moments for me because I could not ever beat it. For years, I could not beat this game. I could make it all the way to the end. Yes. I think this will work. There you go. What the heck? Stream Elements is screwing with me right now. Hey, but Mr. Gray, whisper that to me. I'll post it. Yeah, whisper that to me. At least it didn't ban you. Yeah, if you whisper that to me, I'll post it. Yes. Yes. It's the Flicky game cover. Okay, good. Sometimes for me, it deletes it. Okay. Sometimes for me, it still deletes it. There's an old bot that's in here that I need to remove. I just keep forgetting to do it. Okay, so that was Flicky. Jewel Master, and the reason why this came to mind, Fluffy, is because you said you like to hear stories, and I was thinking about playing that on stream again and just going through the torture that was that game. And yeah, that game, I could make it all the way to the final boss because it's a one run through. You cannot. There was no continue on the world you're on. If you died, you lost all your lives. You had to go all the way back to the beginning and start over. And I could speedrun that game. I knew the game by heart, but then I'd get to the final boss and lose. And it didn't matter what combination, because the point of the game is you have jewels that you put on your fingers, and the combination of jewels that you put on there would give you different magic powers. And I tried every combination I could think of, and it never worked. Place the extension between the uprights, bolt side up, secure with a 2.5 inch bolt and a wing nut. That's this one, I think. No, it's still one of these. So yeah, played that game for years and years and years before I finally figured out what it was I was doing wrong. And it was, I just hadn't considered putting the 4 strongest gems together That was it. It all came down to that. I had tried every other combination, but for some reason it didn't dawn on me. And this was before you could just go look up stuff online. This was before the internet. So it just never occurred to me to mix the four primary jewels that you got as you went through the game. Never occurred to me. And when I did, I had what I needed. I knew the boss's tactics because I'd played them so often. I could make it to the second round and never make it to the one beyond that. I never make it. I could never make it to the third phase. Pardon me. That was annoying. And at some point, when I was an adult, I decided to go back, and that's when I finally did it. And I didn't look it up. I just got to my wit's end and decided to try it. So this one will adjust. So, and this is how I will get the different heights, because I can loosen this and tilt the whole thing back, and then tip this forward so I can get it down to a different height. So I may have to zoom out again just so you guys can keep being able to see. This camera is having a hard time. Alright. Giant wooden tower, pretty much. Yep. So, if you see me start playing a retro game called Jewel Master on the stream, that's going to be me going back and revisiting one of the most frustrating games from my childhood and playing it again. And I just saw this thing in one of those little retro gaming consoles where it was all Sega Genesis. Okay. Insert the bolt on the extension through the center hole on the yoke, secure with the black round knob. Do not over tighten this knob, it should be secure, not tight, so the yoke can spin. And now we get to... Yeah, I laugh now, but I wasn't laughing for years at that game. I could get... Honestly, I don't think I ever made it to the end of Flicky either, because that's just one of those run games. Mr. Graham, assuming you're at least familiar with it. This is nice, it rotates. Yeah, so it rotates. That's just one of those games where you just have to run through. You have a certain amount of birds in a level that you have to run and get, and you have to get them before the cats get you. Oh, see, this is great. You understand my frustration. If I was playing that game in the digital era, post the advent of the internet, I probably wouldn't have had nearly as hard a time with that stupid game. But because I was playing it pre-internet, yes, kids, video game consoles did exist before the internet. Well, at least before internet that we could have access to. So, yep. So now you can kind of get an idea. It's going to be kind of like this right here for cross stitching. So I'm definitely going to have to reposition that camera. I want to get an arm for it similar to the arm that this microphone is sitting right here, that this microphone is on, because then I can attach it to the bar that the camera is sitting on right now, because I'm in a closet, and I can then extend it out and have it look straight down on it. And when I'm done with it, just detach it and put it back over there for my game streams. Okay. Insert the 4 1.5-inch bolts. That goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. 1.5-inch bolts through the holes on the spreader rails. That's these. You want me to put 4? There's only 2 holes. So they want me to put them in here and then attach more of these wing nut, these big plastic wing nut things onto it so that I can adjust it. So it'll tighten that hole right there. It'll tighten. So it'll squeeze this shut, and then when I want to roll it, I just loosen it up a little bit. It's gonna be so much easier than what I'm currently doing. Anyone that's caught some of the previous streams when I've been cross stitching, if I've had to move it, you'll understand. thing I don't get is why they didn't pre-cut these, because all of these come with a square edge there. You can see it as I rotate it. You have the square edge there. Generally, that's because the wood has a notch cut in for it, but this one doesn't seem to be doing that, so I may have to grip it for a second. So, Mr. Gray, you seem to have had a Sega Genesis. What are some of the other games you like to play on there? My all-time favorite video game ever, which I was doing a playthrough of a while ago, but then the system lost it. So I may have to I had to do a restart using an emulator, because I had it in Steam, but then it stopped streaming Steam, and I don't know why. It stopped streaming that Sega console. So I'm not really sure why. Come on, punch through that. So I tightened it so that it's actually now flush with it. My favorite game? It was in one of those Sega Classic things. There's a Sega Classic pack on Steam that has a bunch of those old games, and this game that was my favorite, not Jewel Master, that's different. It was Sword of Vermilion, and I actually started a playthrough of it, and then I think it was during Extra Life, and then for some reason OBS and XSplit stopped reading it, so I had to switch to an emulator and then do a quick playthrough. Luckily I wasn't very far in to get caught back up, and then stuff happened and I just never went back to it. But I do want to finish it. And after that, I may do a playthrough of Jewel Master just so I can relive the agony of my childhood. I'm sure we all have had those games that we were playing when we were kids that just irked us. So you played Shadowrun, Uncharted Waters, and Altered Beast. Yeah, I had the option of getting a Sega Genesis with Unaltered Beast, but I really liked the look of Sonic. It just looked fun, and I don't regret that decision at all. I played the heck out of Sonic the Hedgehog. Because I mean, it was a direct competitor to Mario. In the end, that's what it was, a direct competitor to Mario. I liked Sonic 2. Sonic 2 was really fun, especially because you could play with friends. Sonic 3 was, with Knuckles, was meh, so-so. I never actually played Sonic 4. Sonic Spinball, that game, I loved Sonic Spinball. Zoe wants to play some of the Wii Sonic games because she got them with some gift money that she had. I'm really looking forward to trying Sonic Mania, but can't afford it right now. Because it just feels like I'm going back into the multiplayer for that was fun. And the thing was, when I played Sword of Vermilion is a single player game. It's just a classic style RPG. But I played with a friend who when I bought the game, they had this basically a cheat book that told you where to go and what to do. And so I would play it, and because he didn't want to play the game, he wanted to watch. He had the book, and he would sit there and he would write notes down, so we would know if I went back to play it later, I would know which chest held what on the little maps, because it included dungeon maps and terrain maps. So he would write down on there where things were, so if I went back and played later, I could still see that. Yep, navigator, basically. That's what he was. And he would only give me help. He was a little sadistic with it. He would only give me help when I was really truly stuck. I offered to let him play, and I'd take over as navigator, and he did once, but he just didn't like it. But he came back to help me finish playing it, and I played that game so many times since. Okay, so it was a time for me that was split into Genesis stuff when I could, and SNES hits as well. I had to actually rent the system since I didn't own it. Yeah, I saved up for a long time. I bought my Sega Genesis in the fall of 1991. I also saved up to buy my own TV. And I did not let my parents buy me the video games, because the logic I was thinking is if I paid for it myself, then they could never do the thing. Well, I paid for it, I'm going to take it away. I don't know how much that logic worked, but in my head, it made sense. So we did that. Slip fabric into slotted dowel. All right, so now we're going to detach the previous one. But yeah, in my head, that made sense. I liked some of the SNES games, but I couldn't justify the cost. I mean, heck, I didn't even get... The only reason I moved into the 64-bit era was because I went to college during that time, and someone eventually left a PlayStation with me that I took to Korea, which is when I played Final Fantasy IX. Loved that game. It's my favorite of all the Final Fantasies. But I never got to play the SNES because I was on the Sega Genesis. Yeah, Fluffy, what are your favorite games? I did that for years. Yes, actually, that is very insightful there. I didn't even think about that. But that was kind of like the beginning of streaming. I don't know what this music's doing. But yeah, if you think about that, that's really insightful. That sitting there watching your friends play games like that is kind of, like you said, it's like the gateway into watching streams. Hadn't thought about it that way. And we all did it too. You'd go over to someone's house and you'd watch people play games. Maybe you'd hop on and play for a little bit. I mean, that's what I did in college. I'd go into other people's rooms. The big thing when I was in college was GoldenEye. We had GoldenEye tournaments all the time in Perfect Dark. And I played Donkey Kong 64. I rented that. That was a blast. The first time around, I've gone back and tried it again. It's not quite as enjoyable, but those Rareware games were really good. They met exactly, Fluffy, GoldenEye. They just hit it out of the park with that one. See, Smash Bros. 64 came out after I left college. I never actually got a Nintendo 64 for a long time. Okay, so we've removed the cross stitch from the thing, so now you guys can actually see it all. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to roll it in the opposite direction. GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, Tekken, the battles, the whiskey, you drunken knight slapping down a card and shouting, I interrupt you. Yeah, the card game that I played was the Star Trek CCG, and I still have all of those cards right up there. Can't ever find anyone to play it. I discovered that they're on Tabletop Simulator, but the cards are there. The people that made it didn't really do much in terms of fixing it. So, both the first and the second edition. Okay, so, ow, dropping the things on my toe. Okay, so I'm just seeding this through here for now. This thing is easier to work with. It would be really nice. It ends up being much easier to work with in terms of keeping the thing taut so I don't have to worry about it. I should probably make a point of centering it in this. Wow, I was not expecting it to have some retro. Like, yeah, I kind of decided lately to go with some more mellow music. So it seems a little nicer. You would totally accidentally put that on backwards? Yep. Well, that's the advantage. There isn't really a wrong way. It's just a matter of how you're going to roll it. So up till now, I've been rolling it like this, so that the pattern is out. Oh, yep, this song's much louder. Let's turn that back down a little. Just let me know if the levels are okay on that. So I've been rolling it like this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to rolling it like this. So the part that's out like this is going to be the back of it. So. And I should probably pull the whole thing out a little. There we go. Okay, so that's one side. Now to do the other. Will you be nice enough to sit right there? Oh, you will be. That's cool. Okay, so now I'm going to old school magic deck built around a squee of Golden Cabin Boy. If it featured him in a title quarter art, it was a part of the deck. Nice. Not really that familiar with it. I did, honestly, the only Pokemon I've ever, since Instafluff mentioned some Pokemon, the only Pokemon I ever really played was the Pokemon Go. And that was just because my daughter loved it. It was fun to go around. But we were playing in Europe too, so we were getting things. We were getting a whole different stuff. So when I came to Dragon Con last year, I was getting all kinds of things that I didn't have. Wow, it's amazing what happens when you enter a new region. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. A lot of RimWorld music is kind of like this. I actually played Magic the Gathering once. I played it, I was at a transition to get out of the military class, and it was all week, so me and a friend were staying there, and he's a hardcore Magic player. So I told him, you bring your cards along, and you build me a deck, and I will play it with you. Of course, he was all too eager to take me up on that one. I also played a lot of Civ while I was there. Because there just wasn't much to do. And yeah, so I played it. It was one of those, I had fun, but the fact that I was winning and then in one turn lost the entire game kind of soured me on it. It's like, that deck you have is way too powerful. And I didn't even honestly, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was having to play him in, I mean, I understand these kind of games, so I knew the basics and everything. So I could read the cards and get to know him, but I mean, he built the deck. He knew inside out what he was, forward, backwards, inside out what he was doing. So he had a distinct advantage on me. But I knew that going in. The point was just to have fun playing something with him that I knew he liked to play. Take an interest in what other people are interested in. It's a great way to build friendships. We actually moved to Germany together. We were on the same plane, and we were there when his daughter was born. Yep, losing in one turn. Yeah, it was rough. Okay, so there we have this thing all listed in here. I mean, in like this. I'll be tweaking it a little bit as I go, but for now it's in there. So I will do some rolling for now to keep it out of my way, I guess you say, so it's not taking up the whole thing. And then we place one end of each dowel into the holes of one spreader. So that's this. How far? Not very far. So I'll put this on here and tighten it. And then that, yes, we'll have to roll a little and go the other way. Actually, you know what? I'll do that just to hold it for now. To spin them. Loosen it up. So that's where this is going to be nice. These things being able to spin and allow me to loosen it so I can just do a roll like this. Oh, it's going to be so nice. It's going to take a little bit to get the fabric tightened in and taut. But once it's in, oh, it's going to be so nice. So there we go. So now it's mixed in. I'm guessing I'm gonna have to put this on here in just a moment. I just noticed something. I guess it doesn't matter because I can just rotate this like this for now. I think will be the best. Yeah. instead of trying to, because I technically am supposed to put it lengthwise. Yeah, it essentially is an easel. It's just an easel that I can then attach this onto. And so now I can just sit here and I can cross stitch instead of having to use one hand to hold it against me. I can have one hand underneath and one hand on top. So I've been meaning to get one of these for me for years, but I was not in a place where I could get it. So alright, so let's get the other one. With your fabric straight, roll up the bottom edge of the pattern until slightly taut. Tighten knobs on the bottom scroll. Oh, they want me to put it on both. Okay. I thought maybe they were having me do it separately for another thing. Oh, sorry, I did not mean to hit the microphone. You can see I don't have a lot of space in here. It's cursor living in a 2-bedroom apartment. But at least I have a space that I can go into and close the door. Tighten them for now, but I think I'm going to have to loosen them in order to connect them from here to here, across the length of it. And I'll be able to take this with me if I want to. I can take this with me and go out to the living room and sit and watch something and work on it there too. With your fabric straight, tighten up, roll the top pattern until scroll pattern is taut. Yeah, they mean like roll one side until it's taut. So I will loosen this side. So, since we were talking about Zelda earlier, Fluffy, Mr. Gray, Dragon, what are your thoughts on Majora's Mask? I played it. I'm not a huge fan of it. God's eyes. What exactly is that, Dragon? Oh, you made those, yeah, while you were watching Mythbusters? I like that. I like that. Let's make it more video game style. Loom, your weavers can now embellish cloth with patterns and ornamented stitching. Plus 20 to comfort, plus 15 to quality. That's nice. That was fun. Oh, wait, I'm looking at it upside down. Something's off. Alright, so, done that. Attach the scroll frame directly to the holes on the sides of the yoke. Smaller projects get attached to the inside of the yoke. Larger projects over 18 inches wide get attached to the outside of the yoke. So I have a choice of attaching it on the inside and on the outside. This one is a little shorter, so I'll put it. You never played it? Just imagine something that's similar to Ocarina of Time, only very repetitive because you have to keep going back in time to do something. Yeah, I never felt like I completed everything, Fluffy, because of that timer. You only had so much time there. I never really felt like I got into it. Oh, Ocarina of Time's a good one. The Master Edition on GameCube is great. Hey, Link to the Past is not a bad one to end on. That's a good Zelda. Yeah, I need to finish Skyward Sword. I've beaten Wind Waker twice. You own 2 ocarinas? Oh, you have the game? Okay, attach it, adjust that angle. Alright, so... Alright. This would be for the last remaining piece. I have a feeling that I'm missing something. Because I only have one more of these, but I have an extra wing nut that's not Oh, you have to. Yeah, I have a couple of ocarinas. I collect odd instruments. I have several drums. In fact, one year I got this for Christmas. It is a didgeridoo from Indonesia. And no, I don't really know how to play it because it's really hard to play. So, but yeah. It's one of the few that I still keep around. I also have a flute whistle, thing from the Andes. I have Art, my wife. She got a cowhide drum from Uganda, and I have a log drum, which is the one I play the most, from Niger. It's literally what it sounds like. It's a log. Yeah, it's circular breathing is one of the hardest things to do. It's no joke. I have a ceramic style Korean drum. I have a couple of, I said I had a flute from, I think it's Peru, and the whistle thing I think is from Chile. A couple of ocarinas. I think that's it on the instrument. Oh, and I have a djembe, which I think is from Guam. So yeah, I have a lot of interesting instruments. Okay, so you go here for now. I'm going to need to adjust these so that I can slide it down a little. Let's adjust this one a little bit. Shakuhachi. What's that one? That's a new one for me. That. You can do it. Okay, for now, I'm just going to put the wingman on here to hold it. Oh, I figure out. Oh, yeah, that would have been a good one to put my mom on. They just spent the last 6 years living in Tokyo and Okinawa. I also have an Irish drum, which has like an old Celtic cross on it, currently sitting over the nativity. Kind of appropriate if you think about it. Okay, so somewhere along here, I used one of these. Ah, I see it. So the very first thing down at the bottom, the base here. Yeah, my parents were in Tokyo when the tsunami hit. I was in Seoul, Korea when it hit. So this one right here, I gotta take off. That's the one that's missing. Yeah. When my wife was setting it up, she considered moving it, and then she realized, well, wait a minute, you're setting it right over top of where we're putting the nativity. And we're putting the nativity right underneath that. That's kind of the Romans. That's how it got. That's all. Okay, so you're going to be a butt. Okay. That's fine, you can be a butt. All you want. Yeah, they put all these big black ones on the places that you might want to adjust, which makes sense if you think about it. So, well, except for making that one change with this nut up here, it's done. So now when I cross stitch, I can cross stitch like this. So then it'll just be a matter of, the one thing I don't like about the C920 camera is it doesn't swivel on the thing, so it's pretty much whichever direction it's pointing, so you kind of have to figure out another way. I've considered putting it right up here so you guys can look like right down at what I'm doing, but I don't know how that will look, so we'll have to see. But it also makes it easier now because I can have the mic like right here instead of trying to cross stitch with the mic right underneath it. So alright, so let's loosen these so I can adjust this where I want to spin it a little. Yeah, like so. Because I'm working on the trees on this side. Oh, probably want to pull the needle out before I do that. Stick that right there. Okay, so let's pinch this again. Over your head, yeah. Well, that's if I get another arm like the one this microphone is on, I can do that because I can just pin it right up here. There's a bar up here that camera's currently sitting on. I can pin it to this bar and then swoop it down like right here so you guys can look straight down, or have it sitting right here so you're looking right at it. You guys are gonna get a much better view that way than before. In place. Oh, I forgot to finish tightening. You want the cloth to be as taut as possible. Something like that might exist. That's cool, Dragon. Take care of yourself. Something like that might exist already. I just have to look into it and see. What I currently have right now, Mr. Gray, is a case, which I would sit down underneath it, so it would be down like right here. And this case has everything in it. So, just to show you, here's all of my, I didn't finish unzipping. So here's all of my stuff. That's the pattern sitting right there. And those threads right there are actually to a different project. I started a different project before I got it. So there's all the thread for this one. So these I could just pull out and sit down on the thing. But I usually, with the colors on here, I get a lot of use. I get a lot of mileage out of a single color. So I don't have to change them a lot. But having this thing sitting right there, besides giving a little weight to the base, it's kind of nice. Alright, so I'll probably have to do some slight adjusting on the fabric, how it's sitting in here later, but for now this will work. So I'm going to pull this as taut as I can get it. This is one issue with working near the edge. The fabric, you can see right here, isn't necessarily staying there. It gets, when you're trying to tighten, it just starts to pull through. I don't like working near the edge with this thing, but I have to make do with what I have. Okay, so let's pull. Pull this through as much as I can. Do it as straight as possible. Yeah, see, as soon as I start trying to tauten it, it tightens. So, now turn this way. The wood only pinches so tight. I'd be afraid that the fabric would tear. What I may have to do is just get kind of a grip, like a little vice, grip kind of thing, and just pinch it right there. But do it on this side. So when I'm in the middle, it's not so bad. Oh, that's cool. I can tilt it like this so you guys can actually see better. So I don't technically need to have it this far over because I'm working over here, but I'm working this direction. So it just saves me a step later. So now, since we got this done, let's get on with it. This is nice because now I'll be able to set the cross stitch pattern, which is a giant mess and it's so old it tore apart. And here you can see the pattern. It's just a bunch of letters on there, or symbols, and I have to cross through with a pencil in order to keep track of where I am. And I haven't been doing that with the ease so far. Alright, so I'm coming up this slope right here. So that's this section over here. Yeah, so I'm going to set that right there. I never had my breakfast, my lunch, leftovers, pasta bake. let's zoom a little. Down just a little. There. So you guys can get a closer look. I definitely want to reposition that camera. It's gonna take. This is definitely different from how I'm used to doing it. So, and actually, I don't like having the chat essentially behind me, so I'm putting you guys over there so I can just look at you and see you. There you guys are. Right, so I did that one. Coming down this, and welcome to cross stitching. So there's 2 right there, and then 1, and then I go up 2 squares. Yes. So this one needs to come all the way down. So 1 more. It's a lot of counting, and because this thing is so, I've been working on this for so long, like I hardly remember doing some of the previous sets. And if you start making little mistakes here and there, it'll show up later when you start trying to add stuff. Never watched Zoolander. Yeah, later I'm definitely going to work on tautening this up. Tightening it up so it's more taut. That's probably the better way to say that. No, this one wasn't supposed to come down to there. Oh no. Uh-oh, what the heck are you doing here? There's a knot. Yay. That's this set of the trees here use 5 threads. So they're constantly getting knotted together. Trying to keep them from knotting is a bit of a pain. Just a bit of a pain. Actually, I should flip this way so you guys can see what I'm doing. I am basically determining which hole to pull the green thread back out of. Yep. Thanks for joining us, Mr. Gray. I appreciate it. Go take care of yourself. Get yourself some food. I forgot I have new needles. So I'm going to work on the cross stitch for just a little bit longer, and then I have other projects I need to get to in the house. So I will... my next scheduled stream is tomorrow around the same time. I got these special, needles that have bigger heads, so it's easier to get the massive amounts of thread through them. But yes, I appreciate everyone joining me today. It's a very lively chat. Lots of things to talk about. I've told the Jewel Master story. I have to decide what story to tell next. Maybe tell the story of how I met my beautiful wife, which is kind of funny. In that we met multiple times before actually meeting. We'll come back here. But I think you had enough origin story for me today. This is supposed to be the easier one. It's partially because the threads are all slightly different lengths, so I'm going to trim the edge of the. Are you going to switch over to another song, or do I need to add some? Cue all. Let's get some music. Musica. There we go. Wait a minute, I want to shuffle them. There we go. Oh, this. Cut these. On my trip I had to leave my better scissors behind. And now I'm not really sure what happened to them. Gonna have to ask the wife. Look, did you borrow my scissors? Could be under something, I can look later. There we go. Much easier. So one more up from that. Yes, I did it. One more up from that. And then the next one's go down. Two. One. And two. All right. So I've been doing this for well over an hour at this point, hour and a half. So I think this is where I'm going to call it. I appreciate everybody tuning in and keeping me company while I built this stand and started cross stitching again. Next time I do a creative stream should be. Technically, I was supposed to play a game today, but so I'm supposed to do a creative stream tomorrow. So I'll either be continuing on this or I will be working on the t-shirt quilt. We'll see, whichever one I feel like doing. So that will be at 12 Eastern, or 12 Central, so 1 o'clock Eastern. And I'm going to get someone to host up here. I think I'm going to host the Game Mechanic. Give you a little shout out for him. He is a mostly Civ streamer, but he does also Oxygen Unincluded. He's been very supportive of the stream, and I'd like to share the love with him. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, and I'll catch you next time. I'll cast the host as soon as I go offline. Thanks for joining.